Alright, so let's go through this race analysis. This is me running the New South Wales Sprint Champs a couple of weeks after the race took place. The course was set by Alistair George, who is currently our New South Wales coach in residence. Quickly on the topic of gear, I'm using bush orienteering shoes with rubber studs, and I'm not using a compass and I'm not using a magnifier. So I was doing a bit of experimenting with that. I think the lack of compass cost me quite a few seconds, and I think the lack of magnifier wasn't exactly helpful either. So I think the optimum setup for this campus would be flats, running shoes wise, flats, a wrist-based compass or a thumb compass if you want, and a magnifier. So you can see immediately there's one thing that I'm doing wrong, and that's that my map is way too close to my body, which means that when I look down at the map, I'm looking directly down and I have absolutely no vision of what's in front of me, so I could like bump into someone. And in terms of information gathering, like trying to gather as much information in a short amount of time, it's really bad because I'm trying to get information from the shape of the buildings and where the buildings are, and I can't do that because I'm trying to read the map at the same time. But if the map was further out in front of me, I could do that. So that's more of a personal issue because of my short-sightedness, but a lot of people are short-sighted, and I think wearing correct contacts or eyewear so that you can read the map while it's out in front of you is really, really helpful. So the next control number 3, is a tricky one, and it's a bit of a trap, but I know that it's a trap because I know the campus, but I still mess it up and I lose about 21 seconds on it because I didn't have strong contact and there was a path that exists that I didn't know existed. So you can see that I'm a bit uncertain as I head into this control, and I really should have slowed right down to get solid contact here, and it would have been absolutely worth it. But so this is what we call a fantastic learning opportunity, and so you can learn from my mistake. So in sprint we tend to be a bit sort of mono speed, meaning like that we're always trying to push maximum speed the whole time, but you've really got to be prepared to just go, nah, I don't have contact, I've just got to slow down for a few seconds. And like as you can see, 21 seconds in a sprint is huge, but slowing down for a couple seconds, putting that magnifier over the area maybe, if you had one, probably would have saved me 15 seconds in all. If I'd slowed down for a bit, I would have lost a bit of time in terms of running time, but I would have gained so much in terms of getting the control right the first time and not faffing about like I did. So control 4 has been cut out of the course, so we go straight from control 3 to 5, and control 5 to 6 is also another pretty simple control. So when we have simple controls, what we can do is plan ahead. So we've got a couple of mildly tricky controls after control 6, so that's where we want to be planning ahead and making sure we know what route we're going to be taking. But honestly, I don't think that you should restrict planning ahead to when you've got an easy control. I think you should be doing that all the time. So you should be having this secondary process that's always working, that's just checking openings in the next control and making sure that you can go through the way that you plan on going through, and just making sure that you've always got a way to get to the control, and then you can do the more complicated route choice as you get to that control. So we're at control 9, and I haven't been practicing what I've preached because I have not planned ahead at all. And so if I'd been planning ahead, I would have either gone down the tunnel to the left here, or I would have gone around the building to the left once it finished there. But I saw the car there and I wasn't sure that I could get down. So then I kept going straight, and I went down these stairs for no reason. So you can see that I'm just making these micro errors because I'm not ahead of where I need to be, and I'm sort of flustered. I don't actually end up getting punished that hard for it because I don't think the route that I ended up taking was that much slower. But you can see the potential there to lose chunks of time when you're not ahead of where you are currently. Just a brief note on running technique here. If I were to nitpick my own running technique, I would say that I'm overstriding slightly. I'm not heel striking, but I'm overstriding, and I should be leaning forward a little bit more at the ankles. I'm a bit vertical. You really want to initiate the forward velocity through a forward lean at the ankles, and that foot wants to be landing underneath the hips, but it's landing slightly in front of the hips, which is why my running looks a little bit off. After control 9, I actually do something quite well here, is I slow down a little bit to just get through the next couple of controls and make sure that I execute them correctly, because they're shorter controls and there's just a few areas of olive green that I'm not sure about. So what I do is I just slow down to about 80% instead of 100%, and then I really nail those two controls, and then I can open up on the next control. So I'm coming into control 14 here, and I didn't know that the control was actually in the bottom of the little nook there, so I came in at the top. So that's the disadvantage of not having flags. So I guess you would have to add on a few seconds to my time here if I were to correctly go to the control circle. But coming up control 16 is where we really throw the race out the window, because I didn't spend the correct amount of time reading the map and seeing if the control was below or above the impassable wall, and I just guessed that it was below, and it was not below. So when we get to control 16, you'll see that I go down some stairs and I turn right and I go to the end of a wall, and then Toby says no, the control's not there, the control's up here, which means that I've basically lost like 15 seconds. I probably would have seen the flag because you sort of run past it, but I mean that's just like not spending enough time reading the map, which is pretty typical of a lot of sprint errors. And the next control I do the same. I go around the outside of the garden wall there, and I should have just gone on the inside, but that control placement on the map was a little bit iffy. I would have put it a bit further on the inside to make it really obvious. But on these two controls, 16 and 17, I lose a pretty hefty chunk of time. So, and both at control 3 and control 16 and 17, it was just rushing the map reading that caused the issue. And I should have just done what I did at control 9 and just said I'm just going to knock the speed off a little bit, but I was just so convinced that I knew where it was because I'm quite familiar with this area of the map. But Like I said at Control 3, I was familiar with that area of the map, but I still stuffed it up, so just don't be afraid to knock off that speed and you'll benefit most of the time. So Alistair's given us a nice chunk of dead running time here, so I'm going to use this to plan ahead and to put the pressure on the running for a little bit, because once I've read ahead and checked where the controls are, I sort of can't really gain any more in terms of planning ahead, so I can just really put the foot down and push pretty hard up this hill. So that's what I'm doing. I'm checking the next few controls and just pushing the speed. So we're pretty much at the end of the course. There's not much more to analyse. Yes, my stair running, or my running downstairs, is really crap, so that's something that I'll be working on in future. But overall, I think this is a really useful exercise. You can go out and do a sprint course. You don't have to have someone to film you can do it yourself, but having someone to film you, this is a really great opportunity, because I could have a look at the way I was holding the map, and I could have a look at how I was running, and that was useful extra information for me to make better analysis. But if you've just got a head cam or something, that's really useful, and you can just go through the whole course and think, what did I do well and what did I not do well, and you can really improve at a much faster rate if you have a really open and honest improvement attitude, rather than looking at your video and saying, how good am I? You should be saying, okay, I'm doing some things well, but what can I improve on? And I'm looking at this video and I'm really looking with a critical eye at what I can improve, and that's how you get better at a skill. Alright, so thanks for watching. That was the course, and keep tuned in for some future sprint orienteering or orienteering related content. Thank you.